Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Brian Hurtak. He's a Fortune 100 executive, 15 plus years of experience, MBA from Scheller College of Business at Georgia Institute of Technology. We'll talk to him about how one can deal with information overload. We'll learn from his the play sheet and also the book that we'll talk about that. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you, AJ. It's a pleasure to be on here today.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Brian. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about how one can beat information overload. This is a very useful topic in today's time. So how we'll learn all this from you, Brian. But before that, let's learn a bit about your background, your journey, so that people know who they are listening to.
Yeah, I'm just your typical corporate executive that's trying to get better in my day-to-day. But I live in San Antonio, Texas, in the United States. I've worked for large financial institutions for almost 20 years now. And in January, I published my first book called The Play Sheet, a simple resource for overloaded professionals. And probably most importantly, married to my beautiful wife, Erica, and have 2 kids and just trying to manage through my day-to-day like everybody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Brian. So when we talk of information overload, means is it because it's our choice, or is it because information chooses us? How does that work, Brian?
Yeah, it's kind of both. To answer your question, AJ, there's multiple sources of information overload. We talk a lot about this in the book. The first off is we have a lot of sources of information today. So some people, to answer your question, may seek more than others. And the more they seek, the more cognitive load they have. And actually, the more you seek out, it's kind of like being on the cereal aisle. Too many choices make it difficult to make accurate decisions in high pressure situations. Often, we also have too much information. We're bombarded with digital engagement all day long, whether it's work information, personal information, our calendars. We've just got too much. We also don't manage the information well. We don't organize it in a way. So at a certain point, a tipping point, it overloads us. And then oftentimes we have irrelevant information. We kind of seek things that maybe aren't really relevant to the things that are most important in what we're doing. And probably the biggest one, right? Time. We lack time to actually absorb it, understand it, and effectively use it. So those are the main causes of information overload that we face.
Absolutely, Brian. So let's look at it from 2 perspectives. One is an individual one and one is a workplace one. How do we deal with information? What kind of information overload we have when we are in our personal space at home and in office? How does that work?
I'll give you a real example. I'm a parent of a 7-year-old and a 6-year-old. I am trying to be the best dad, best husband, best person I can be. So I am constantly seeking information. I'm also getting a lot of information from my family. And I'm also trying to kind of create the barrier between my workplace. So I'm just overwhelmed, anxious every single day on the home front. So a lot of people are just very reactive to how they handle it. They don't really have a game plan. They don't really have a framework or a process that they may use in their professional lives. And so they are just reacting every day. And the more information that hits them, the worse their decision-making often is. On the professional side, we get a lot more information than ever. We go into our week with what we think is the plan, but as you know, or many know in your professional life, your boss may hit you up with something, the economy may change, a competitor may change, a fire drill may come up, and that adds to the information that you have each week. And yet again, I don't think people have a simple, repeatable framework for 1, organizing the information, 2, recalling the information, and then 3, executing it in the moments that matter, that are relevant to that situation at hand. And that's what the book really tries to teach people to do, with some analogies from American football here in the States.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Brian. We'll come to the book separately. I'm just trying to understand this topic better through your, through your experience, your understanding of things. And that is, in early days also, they were having the same sort of issues, maybe a bit different one in their own times. And in offices also, everyone's office was busy for them at that point in time. Why has it become an issue now? Why not so much earlier on? Is it because we don't talk about social media? We didn't talk about the mainstream media or any other media, or the internet. How do you think we have become so information loaded, and earlier on they were not? There also the parents used to take all the information about kids. In fact, now you can get it much more quickly. You can store it, but there you have to go. So those days also were there when you be in offices. Also, you had enough information. Again, the bosses were the same, except that the times have changed. I want to understand then what exactly have changed in terms of information earlier on and now.
I'd say in the last 5 years, us being more virtual has definitely been an inflection point. Let me give you a real example. We could be on a Zoom, a Teams, a Skype, WebEx meeting, and I'm trying to pay attention to you. And I have instant messaging coming from me. I have an email coming to me. I've got alerts on my Apple Watch. I've got my personal phone. My wife's texting me. So we have too much information hitting us, which does create attention deficit disorders in many of us. And so it's really hard for us to focus. I think the digital world has really been a huge inflection point on our ability to focus in the moment, so we can just use the relevant information to have the right conversation and just use the right information to have the discussion in front of us. That's probably been the biggest change. And then, yes, we have way more information at our disposal than we ever have had before, whether it's from all the media platforms that now exist. The internet obviously is a big part. But the one other difference I would say in the last 10 years, especially with smartphones, is it's the push versus the pull. We used to pull information. Today, it is constantly being pushed at us. And I don't think we have a way to filter it. And that is really what creates information overload. And the bell curve is, as you get more information, your ability to make decisions starts to go this way. Last thing, as we get older, or maybe not age, as we grow in our careers, we take on more responsibilities. If I'm an individual contributor, the amount of information I have is this. If I'm a leader of 10 people, it's this. I may have 10 more meetings. I may have 10 more emails. I may have 10 more areas of scope that I need to cover. Then as I become more of an executive or senior leader in my organization, it starts to grow exponentially. So what got you here won't get you there. And I don't think people adapt to how they actually get more responsibility and more information as they grow in their career as well.
Okay. And that's why the sale of dumb phones is increasing day by day, so that they can at least, have that friction between information overload for them, at least for whatever time that is possible for them.
And AJ, this is I got information overload studying information overload. There's actually medical terms: infobesity, data smog, information smog, infocomplexity. This is a serious challenge that many, many people face, yes, in their personal, professional, or just daily lives in general. And it's just about having a way to organize it, recall it, and execute it where it matters.
Absolutely. And that brings me to your book, The Play Sheet. So we got all the information, but the real information we have to take from football strategy. How good or not so good it is. Means, tell us a bit about your book. Who is this book for? Why football? Why not any other strategy?
Yeah, I wasn't seeking football. So the story for me is I was a voracious learner like anybody else. But I was seeking out podcasts, I was reading books, listening to audiobooks, having mentor sessions, going to conferences, listening to webinars. I was absorbing all the information to make me a better leader and manager in my day-to-day. But in reality, I wasn't executing anything that I really learned. Have you ever done that? You're like, man, this is information gold. This is the best piece of advice I ever got. And if you really reflect, you don't actually apply it. I felt that way in the middle of my career. And I was sitting on my couch one Sunday afternoon. My kids were running around. The house was a mess with kid toys. I had paper scattered. I was trying to organize my calendar for the week ahead, and I was already overwhelmed and anxious. In the corner of my eye, it was a Sunday here in the States, American football, the National Football League's on, and I saw coaches on the sideline constantly glancing at these laminated sheets of paper. And I realized every single coach at every level, the high school level, the academic or university or college level, and the professional level, they all used these laminated sheets of paper. I'm a fan, and I realized if every coach is using this to help them absorb large amounts of information, to quickly glance at it and make a call as the clock is clicking down, the crowd noise is high, the pressure is tense, why am I not using it? So I went on a journey unintentionally and started studying these football coaches and their process of distilling large amounts of information from film that they watch a previous game, diagnostics of the players that they're going to play against, and even studying their own players and how effective they are, and realized every single one of them at every level does the same simple, repeatable framework. And in football, I don't know what, other sports, they don't follow the same approaches, but in football, every coach uses this play sheet. And so I wrote a book about it.
Absolutely. So what's in the play sheet? Coach's play sheet and in your play sheet?
Yeah. So what we learned is that coaches have a playbook. So let me take a step back and explain why they create that. So all the information that's in their entire organization, in this case, right, they put in one central repository, whether it's their procedures, their plays, their workout schedule, their nutrition schedule, the names of the players, everybody. They put it in one playbook, and they organize that very well. The difference between the playbook and the play sheet is what coaches do is every week they face a different opponent. Just like we do in our work or our personal lives. We have different challenges that approach us week in, month out. What coaches do is based on that situation at hand, they take the relevant plays from their playbook that they've already had. They're in their bank. And they look at, what are we facing now? What are the relevant plays that we like to run? And they basically just juxtaposition those against their opponent at hand. And by doing that exercise on a weekly basis, basically from Friday to Friday, they quickly create an at-a-glance cheat sheet for them to say when the new formation comes out on the field, in 5-10 seconds, they can recognize it and say, you know what, I have this relevant play. We've practiced it. Let's call it, and they execute it. And so we teach people how to do that. You don't need to know anything about American football. What we do is we take that simple framework that those coaches do and help you create a simple play sheet so you can make the right call based on your personal or professional situation. And I'm happy to give examples of how we do that.
Absolutely. How do you implement that? And how is it related to information, overload here, Brian?
Yeah. So earlier I said, let me answer the second question and I'll go back to the first one. So earlier I said there is a very well-known study that talks about our ability to make good decisions as information increases. So the playbook is way too much information. That's like us taking every article of clothing and putting it on as we exit our house. You don't do that, right? You just find the right shirt, the right pair of pants, and the right pair of shoes to go out of your house each and every day. So what the play sheet does is knocks out where you have too much information. It creates one source versus multiple sources of information. It filters out the irrelevance of information. And it minimizes the time that you need to quickly glance at something, recall it, and play it. Here's how you apply it in your day-to-day. Simply put, first, organize all the information that you have from all the great resources you have and categorize them. Maybe it's in time management. Maybe it's in leading a meeting. Maybe it's managing your team or coaching your team. Maybe it's parenting or being a good husband. It could be all these different categories. Categorize those in your playbook. Then, what are you facing the next week, month, 30, 60, 90 days? And distill those relevant categories onto your play sheet. Pick 3 to 5. Don't overwhelm yourself. And then choose a couple plays from just key bits of information that will help you trigger, man, I remember that book. I remember that piece of advice. I remember that key stat. It'll help me recall it in that moment. And so you create your play sheet. And once you create your play sheet, then what I recommend is that you always have it on you, because you're going to face a situation. Maybe I'm attending a meeting and I'm really intentionally thinking about how I'm better in that meeting. I would look at my meeting section, glance at it. Oh yeah, I'm working on listening more versus talking less. Or empowering my team to lead the discussion versus me. Great. It just reminds me to do what I want to do versus me going into my bad habits. Another way is intentionally in that Sunday where I sat on my couch. Now what I do is I look at my calendar and I look at my play sheet, and they're side by side. If I have a one-on-one with a direct report and I have to have a tough conversation on their performance, maybe I'm extroverted, maybe they're introverted. I'm going to look at that play sheet and I'm going to say, how do I have that relevant conversation? And I will intentionally think about, you know what? I want to run that play in that meeting. So it's just creating examples like that you can use this play sheet. And all it is a simple reminder of the things you already know so that you can execute them and overcome that information overload and make better decisions in those critical moments of your personal or professional life.
Right. So you mean to say we should have a reference manual, sort of the best things that we know about things, and put it, very handy wherever it is, so that you can, like the coaches do it in a football situation. They can immediately reference it.
Absolutely. And in digital, this is even, we have 2-3 screens sometimes in front of us. So it's not like we're all sitting in boardrooms today in our professional lives either. So I always have that on my right screen, and I'm always looking at those key plays, and it truly helps me be more intentional. And once again, it's the only source I'm looking at. And my play sheet has key statistics of my scorecard for work. It has key information about people on my team, maybe their family or their hobbies, so I can be more personal. It has the key storylines that I want to make sure I'm saying each day. And it has those key plays that I'm trying to run to improve my personal or professional development. So yeah, it's just an at-a-glance reference guide for you to actually execute what you spent so much time and money learning.
Absolutely. So 2 points here, Brian. One is that how do I create a play sheet at home? Because then my wife will also see the same points, that how you are dealing with her. And that can become, the children will also see it. How do you actually execute that play sheet there?
Yeah. So this is my parenting play sheet, by the way. I have one in my car. I have one in my in my living room, because I try not to be reactive. I think it's funny you said, so your wife doesn't see your plays, right? Because maybe you're working on your love languages. Yeah. So maybe be discreet. Maybe be discreet about what plays you put on your play sheet. Keep it close to the vest, I would say. But just having it around is really important. So I'll be vulnerable here. I come home from a 12-hour workday from corporate America, and I enter my house, and my 8-year-old kid just wants to hang out, and I'm exhausted. and he's throwing everything at it that he wants to do at me, and I'm already overloaded. I can quickly glance at this, and I have plays that look at my feeling, his feeling, and it helps me say, you know what? If it's undue attention, I'm irritated or annoyed, the right one is for me just to increase my one-on-one time. And so I'm running a play that a psychologist and somebody that's been studying parenting behaviors for probably 20, 30, 40 years is much smarter than me, and I'm intentionally implementing versus reacting. So truthfully, it is nothing to create a play sheet. Another thing about the coaches, they don't have fancy software. It's a Excel spreadsheet or a Word document. Just get the plays on something. I recommend laminating it so it's a little durable and having it on you at all times. That's it.
Absolutely. What about in the workplace? Because my boss will keep on giving me information, keep on giving me work. I cannot show the play sheet to him. I have to only reference. So how does this work in a workplace?
You know, I disagree a little bit of what you said, AJ. I think it shows you're prepared, right? So you may need to update your play sheet, and you may have multiple play sheets for different situations in your work career, right? You may have one for your team dynamic. You may have one for the senior leader dynamic. You may want to have for maybe your customer dynamic, and you have them, and you have multiple play sheets, just like coaches create different play sheets for different opponents each and every week. But I disagree, because I think, look, I can have this in front of me, just like I'm having it in front of you. It's my cheat sheet. It shows that I did all the preparation ahead of time, and it helps me be more effective for my boss. So if my boss sees my effectiveness and performance increasing, I personally believe that matters more than if I've got this little cheat sheet in front of me and it's going to make them uncomfortable. I think it's a cultural thing of people. Why do you have this piece of paper that you keep referencing? It's not like I'm giving a presentation and I'm reading from it and I'm just verbatim reading from it. That's not what this is for. This is for me to say, you know what? I have the key stats. I remember them. I've got the key things of how I want to communicate better. And it's just helping me remind myself of how I can be more effective in my day-to-day and not be overwhelmed in the information, so that I can make better decisions. I keep saying the same thing, I know, but it's that simple. And here's what I come back to. It's the reason every coach, I actually encourage anybody, regardless of where you live in the world, go watch an American football game on YouTube or any channel and count how many times you see this. It works. And that is the reason every coach uses it, and why I believe if we can adopt it in our personal and professional life, our performance and decision-making in both areas will be better.
Absolutely, Brian. So who is this book of yours for, the play sheet?
You know, I wrote it. I used the play sheet for the last about 10 plus years. Candidly, I'm 42. I'm probably in that middle stage of my career. I have seen it very effective for up-and-coming professionals, people trying to make that transition from individual contributor to manager or leader. I see it to be really effective, because they're hungry for information. They still are learning a lot more than people that have 20 years experience. So I've been doing webinars for graduate programs, masters in business programs, and those have been really effective for those up-and-coming professionals. Some people that are more tenured in their career don't find it as effective. That's fine. I disagree. I think it can be anything that you're trying to learn. I think it can help you be better if you put this framework in place, whatever it is you're learning. And then weirdly, I said the parenting play sheet. Parents have been probably the biggest audience, because most parents don't have an intentional way of how they absorb what other parents already know and apply it. There's a lot of psychology to good parents, or just relationships in general. And so parents have found this very effective, that they can have it, not be reactive, and be more intentional. So young up and coming professionals, parents, those have probably been the most, they've probably seen and been most vocal where this has been most effective.
Right. And how does one create the best play sheet? You can't just go to ChatGPT and type it. You have to write it. And as a parent, it's better that you can, sit down with your wife and then write it, or you have to do it alone? What's the, and how many lines or words or characters or pages? What's the best, ideal play sheet for any particular job?
Yeah. So to get started, so you don't get overloaded, I recommend that you just pick 3 to 5 categories. It's like objectives and key results almost. There's something about that 3 to 5. It's not too many. I suggest, let's just say 5 categories. So maybe it's time management, maybe it's how to build strong relationships, those types of things, right? Then for each one of them, take 3 to 5 plays relevant to those categories from the information you've been learning and put it on there. Just so that those 5 to 10 words, don't write a paragraph, just 5 to 10 words. Look, this is a coaching play sheet example. You can see it's just very quick jots of information. 3 to 5 categories, 3 to 5 plays that's relevant to what you're facing over the next 30 days. Do that because it'll help you really figure it out. In addition, on the right-hand side of it, or maybe the bottom corner, I recommend you put some key statistics, maybe some key names that are relevant to either your personal or professional life. Maybe it's your strength finders. Maybe it's your love languages. Maybe it's your corporate scorecard or your key performance metrics in your organization. Put those on there so it's there as well. Then, as I said earlier, laminate it and then have it on you at all time. And most importantly, use it. If you don't use it, look, the first time you run a play, it may not work. That's normal. In any sport, how the team performs in the beginning of the year or season compared to how they perform at the end of the year is exponentially different because they have more repetitions. So as you use this more, the 4th chapter of my book is called Adjustments. How do you make iterative adjustments to get a little bit better each and every time? So let me recap. 5 categories at most. 5 plays per category with short, pithy triggers of information about that key advice that's going to help you recall what you already know. Key stats, key information on a corner. Laminate it. Use it.
Absolutely. Use it. So there's so much to learn from you about all these things, Brian. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more from you, about the play sheet, as well as the book also. So what's the best way for them to do so?
AJ, thank you for asking that. And once again, thank you for having me on. I've been a viewer of yours of so many great people with so much information and what they're a master in. So thank you. Just the opportunity here has been great as well. Myplaysheet.com. If you go there, first, I highly recommend that in any digital retailer, or you can go to my website and purchase the book. The book is an hourglass book, 2 hours tops. You'll get through it. It's kind of a little bit workbooky. It'll help you create that play sheet and double click into those things I just mentioned. If you want to reach out to me for a speaking engagement or for a webinar or help you or your team, on myplaysheet.com, you can book a 30-minute free consultation. And let's talk about what's relevant to you. And we'll figure out what the right play is for your situation.
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.